back to Wizard's Jail, a Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light rewatch podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Ripoll.
And I'm Gabe Powers.
Also a host.
Yeah.
One of the hosts is what I usually introduce myself with, but whatever. We're equal hosts here.
We actually have a correction right off the bat.
Go for it.
I was editing episode 2, and I realized we were referring to the Darkling Lord who jails our heroes as Kravex, the angry one. When rewatching it, it was actually Lexor, the cowardly one. They just both have the same hair and facial hair and color scheme, but the colors are kind of reversed. So when their helmets are off and you only see their upper shoulders, they kind of look like the same guy.
We're going to get into this. You can apologize for that mistake. I refuse to apologize.
The only reason to apologize is that we talk about how the Visionaries are the Knights of the Magical. Oh, goddamn, the
Spectral Knights.
Spectral Knights make fun
Too
of
many
his
names.
voice. They make fun of his voice, and we made it into a whole Chris Latta has a very awesome, fun to make fun of voice when it was actually a different actor's voice, unfortunately.
Again, they made their bed, so they're going to lie in it. We are going to mix up characters. When I'm taking notes, you have no idea how often I rewind these episodes just to try to like stare at a tiny, if it's like a shot and it's like 5 characters in the frame, I have to like really zoom in to figure out who is on who's like what animal is on whose chest, and that's the only way I can tell them apart.
Yeah,
horrible
God
character
design
still.
An angle. God forbid they're at an angle, or they've been put into the dungeon thing that takes away their powers.
Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light. In case you don't know, and this is your first episode, which is bizarre, it was a 1987 children's show that went on for 13 episodes that was produced by Hasbro and Sunbow Productions, that was designed to sell toys, these action figures. All these action figures look alike. It's probably a lot easier to make the molds when they're all kind of the same, like, football armor kind of dudes. So that's what they all look like in the show, and you can't tell them apart, and there's 14 of them. Too many characters.
That was almost the title of the show, actually. Football Guys. Football heroes.
Football guys. We would have gotten way more downloads, just like sort of instant, people want to know about what is happening with the 2025 Chicago Bears season. They're going to be more likely to download an episode of Football Guys.
Oh man, we should put something in because you're in Chicago and I'm in Minneapolis, and our two teams, or I'm in St. Paul, but same difference. Our teams are going to meet in their first game this season, so I can put the hashtag in now because we've talked about it. So I can put in hashtag NFL, hashtag Chicago Bulls, hashtag Minnesota Vikings.
We got to scheme any way we can scheme because we have the most niche podcast in the fucking world.
Right, and I have to pretend that I'm mad at you about the Bears for some reason.
Yeah. Oh, those damn Vikings.
Fucking don't get me started on the Packers.
So we did not call this podcast Football Guys. We did call this podcast Wizard Jail. And guess what? You're finally going to learn why.
Woo!
On this episode where we cover episode 6, Lion Hunt, and episode 7, The Overthrow of Merklynn. These are one terrible episode, one great, probably the peak of the series episode. It's the best of times, it's the worst of times, just like Charles Dickens said when he watched Visionaries. This particular stretch of the series, you get just like absolutely useless trash like Lion Hunt, and then you get an incredible banger like The Overthrow of Merklynn. We are halfway through this podcast as well. This is an 8-episode miniseries where we're going through all of the show. We're going to go through the comics and the action figures in the 8th episode. How do you feel right now, Gabe, having traversed this far into the series?
Well, it helps that the best episode is right in the middle, I suppose. That kind of helps keep us going. If it was like nothing but, like if we had an episode that was just Feral Steps Out and Lion Hunt, we might be struggling.
That's a rough one. I do think after episode 7, we do get, they're not all as good as The Overthrow of Merklynn, but we do sort of get into the place where the show's getting a little bit more free and a little bit more silly and a little bit more open in what it can be. we're getting less just like, we kidnapped one of the Spectral Knights, and now there's 6 of them and 7 of us, so let's invade New Valeric, and we have a big battle again.
Yeah.
This is not the plot of Lion Hunt. Lion Hunt is some other thing.
Vengeance. Vengeance drove me to you. Vengeance for a man named Leoric. I have studied many ancient tomes, hoping to find a spell or weapon to use against him. In the oldest of these books, your name is mentioned as a purveyor of powerful spells.
Well, it's nice to be remembered after 10 millennia.
Because we're opening on a stormy night on Iron Mountain, and the Darkling Lords are once again beseeching Merklynn to recharge their power staffs. There is a certain sense of continuity here in that they have to do tasks for Merklynn to get their power staffs recharged so they can use their ultimate powers. This show does not stick to this. They use their powers when it's convenient. It's not a strict continuity, but there is a sense of a continuing story because when Merklynn says, okay, I have a task for you, and then I'll recharge the power staffs, Darkstorm immediately goes, you know what? No, fuck this. I hate this arrangement. I hate being beholden to someone else. I'm gonna find magical help somewhere else. And he just storms off.
Which makes sense for his character. Why would he want to keep, why would this self-centered fascist want to keep depending on someone else?
He wants to consolidate power, and he really resents the idea that anyone else has power. That's definitely going to be a plot, a through line that pays off in the next episode. Merklynn says, oh, they'll be back, and he starts petting a spider, and it's a spider that he himself has conjured out of light. And this is my stance on conjured pets. If you summon an artificial animal from nothingness, that's not a pet. That's like the Chat GPT of pets, where like you have invented a thing that tells you it's a pet so that you feel good about having a pet. But actually owning a pet is about a certain level of negotiation and not having full control over things. So to me, this is like if Merklynn was petting a JPEG. It's very sad. I think maybe Merklynn is a little bit lonely.
His NFT pet. That's really... I didn't think on those levels, but
I wonder maybe Merklynn is like the mother who is just sort of like, my kids from college, like I'm never going to complain about like doing their laundry or making them breakfast or whatever because I need them to keep coming home and having an excuse to visit me.
Yeah.
So like he has power, but I do wonder if like maybe Merklynn gets a little lonely. And
I think he's the type of lonely that will not admit that he's lonely. I think he's one of those.
Merklynn has borderline personality disorder.
Yes, 100%.
He's that kind of mother.
Yeah.
We're about to meet someone more interesting than Merklynn because the next place the Darkling Lords go for magical help is the witch Heskador, voiced by Susan Blue, who does the voice of, what's the name of the one Spectral Knight?
She's Galadriel.
She does the voice of Galadriel.
So she gets to do a bad guy and a good guy. Kind of.
Yeah, the good guy voice is very just like, I'm a beautiful woman and I have upright morals. And Heskador is just like the screeching, grating crone witch voice. It's a thing where I didn't necessarily know Susan Blue by name, and looking at her credits, I'm like, maybe I've encountered her or not. But when I heard this witch voice, it sort of summoned memories in my mind where I'm like, I think I've heard Susan Blue do this voice before on some cartoon when I was a child.
Yeah.
It's very familiar. She's like this really tiny, wrinkled old lady with a crooked nose, classic witch. She's got like her little gnarled cane and everything. She's got wild gray hair. There's a part where she lights a candle and Mordred sees her face for the first time and he just falls to his knees. He's so shocked at how ugly she is, which I think is very funny. Darkstorm refers to her as a sorceress and she spits at the idea. She's like, I'm not a sorceress, I'm a witch. Don't discount my evil. Sorceress is a more morally neutral term. I'm a fucking witch. We learn that she is millennia old, and Darkstorm found her because her name was an ancient tome on magic. So Darkstorm's so mad at Merklynn, he is going to the fucking library doing extra credit.
Doing research. That's
which Darkstorm is, he's the ultimate villain in this show, but he's also just has like the personality type of dumb middle school bully. Mm-hmm. So you really do get the idea that driving him to actually read a book, that means something.
Yeah.
This other thing, she's millennia old. This implies this weird, like, this apocalypse that has happened is maybe not the first apocalypse, or there have been like different ages. There was an age of magic before the age of technology, and then when the age of technology fell, we entered a new age of magic.
And 1,000 years really isn't enough time to, I mean, do a whole age, like go from only magic to like glittering cities with flying cars and then back to magic. So this is a crazy, the more we talk about this planet, Prismos, the weirder it is. And the more it's like, part of me thinks that the cities were only a small part, and people just didn't journey outside of them. And then also maybe this planet's very big.
I think there's another line later on that makes me think this planet is maybe actually massive. The idea of having 3 suns also maybe.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I don't think an ordinary Earth-sized planet could withstand the gravitational pull of having 3 suns. I wonder if this is like something like Jupiter or bigger, where it's just the landmass is so massive that you literally can go any place, or you can come up with any kind of epoch, any kind of biome, any kind of world state, and somewhere on Prismos it exists, which again is fun. It's like it's fun, flexible world building. They don't worry about making it all square with each other. They're just sort of trying to give themselves license to have fun. The way that like the reality of Futurama makes no fucking sense.
No.
But it's just like, it just enables them to make jokes. And that's the important thing.
Imagine how strong these people are, though, if that's the truth. Their gravity on their planet and the fact that there's 3 suns, like they must be, like if they went to Earth, they would just be leaping like miles. Yeah. Wow.
This is Krypton. This is what would happen. They'd be leaving tall buildings with a single bound. So we have Darkstorm and Heskador sort of going over these books of magic, and she suggests the fish spell of Keshria, and Darkstorm's like, yeah, I tried it, didn't work, which implies that there are all these other adventures happening in between these episodes, because we did not see him try the fish spell of Keshria.
Nope.
I don't know what the fish spell of Keshria is. If it's like turning someone into a fish, that's kind of already what Virulina's power is, so I don't know. Anyway, like I like the idea that there are little gaps of time where these adventures are just sort of recurring, despite the fact that there is also a sense of continuity. So she suggests a potion that will trap a spectral knight in his animal form, and if he isn't restored within 3 nights, he will be trapped in that form forever. It's an Animorph situation. Animorphs can only, the young adult book series from the late 90s, early 2000s, they can only stay in their animal forms for 2 hours, and if they were in there for more than 2 hours, they were stuck there forever. So that is the plan they go with in this on this episode. We now move to an old man and his grown daughter Fletchin, which is, sometimes these fantasy names have a bad mouthfeel, and I think turning.
It's like I guess her family made arrows, I suppose, but like when you're naming your beautiful woman character Fletchin, like you're just not thinking that through. I feel the Galadria that's a pretty lady name.
Yeah,
Fletchin. I know she's supposed to be like a little bit country, but that's too country, maybe.
Maybe it was like, well, your mother's mother's name was Gretchen, and our first date we saw Fletch, the classic Chevy Chase movie, and so we combined them together,
which exists on Prismos, along with the Once and Future King and the Fletch series. Those are 2 Earth things that exist on Prismos.
On a planet of sufficient size, Fletch is inevitable. That is my belief. The old man and his grown daughter have a little poem that they like to say to keep themselves safe in this dangerous world of magic. They have you're Jewish. What's the Jewish thing you put by the door?
Oh, the mezuzah.
So they have this little charm by the door that basically is like a mezuzah. They touch the mezuzah as they enter their home, and they say, touch the charm at the fall of night, and you will sleep without fright. And she complains to her father about this age of magic. She says, magic is evil. I wish that we were still in the world of technology. Technology, as we all know, is always good. No evil ever accompanied technology. He assures her that they're safe, and he is immediately proven wrong when a giant bull monster with sharp teeth rolls through their house and blows blows it up, along with several other houses. The villagers are all freaked out by this giant bull monster that's destroying their village. Bull monster glides away, and we learn that it is in fact not a monster at all, but that Darkstorm, Mordred, and Recon have been piloting one of their vehicles that's been dressed like a bull monster, kind of like a parade float. Like if you used a parade float to destroy a small town, that's what just happened.
Yeah, it's like I was struck by how convoluted it was to have to make a costume for a truck. It's very silly.
What they should have done is just get that pirate ship.
Yeah,
from the previous episode.
Previous episode. Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes you wonder if those were like toy ideas that were rejected, but they're like, we already made the design, like monster truck and land boat and some.
That's a good point. If we need to keep introducing, we're not really introducing a lot of new toy characters at this point. Like Fletchin is not going to move the needle. They're not even making the female Spectral Knights. They're definitely not going to make a Fletchin action figure until like series 7 or something like that. But this is also just in this world. This is how you deal with small villages. You just like drive vehicles through their houses.
Yes.
Apparently. Now, when they get out of this vehicle, there is a reverse shot, where Recon makes an aside about how this plan might not work. And because none of Darkstorm's plans work. And then you see Darkstorm overhear this and react. And Recon and Darkstorm look like the same dude. They are the same white bearded man, and because it is nighttime, the color patterns of their costumes are muted in that sort of nighttime colorway, and so it just looks like a guy arguing with himself. And then Mordred walks up behind him and takes off his helmet, and he is also just a bearded white man. And in one shot, you have 3 identically dressed, identically faced white men talking to each other, and they're all evil, so they all have like evil voices. And this is Visionaries. This is like the chief issue with Visionaries as a toy series, as an animated series, is this one shot here. And I was pulling my hair out trying to take these fucking notes. Anyway.
I'm trying to see who voiced Fletchin.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's either Susan Blue again, or it's...
I believe it's Jennifer Darling.
Is it? Oh, that makes... So they switched. So the good...
Yeah.
Okay. Because there's also someone named Ellen Gerstel, she's credited with voicing women, plural.
Yeah.
That's it. Those are the only 3 women on the cast.
Maybe we will hear her voice in the next episode during the town hall meeting.
Right. Women.
So now we see the villagers. They're gathered around a fire. They're trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do about this monster. Young woman, Fletchin, she suggests we should petition the Knights of New Valeric. We're right on the border of New Valeric. Maybe they'd come over and help us. The villagers then go to New Valeric. They ask the Knights for help. And Leoric is moved. Not by their story, but how hot Fletchin is.
Yep. It's horny.
And he steps towards her. He's much taller than her. She could be any age. Her father is certainly an old man, so if she was in her 30s, that would make sense timeline-wise. But the way she talks, she has kind of a squeaky voice, and she has a long braid, and she has that like young princess thing where like her gown kind of comes off the shoulders, and you see the bare shoulders like Jasmine in Aladdin. And so it really is the feeling of like a man who's 47, like embracing the hands of a 15-year-old girl and saying, "How can any knight deny a request from such a charming young lady?" Which, and guess what? This is going to be the central romance of this fucking show for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
At any rate, regardless of their age, you should not, if you are a combination mayor and chief of police, imply that your desire to serve your constituency is influenced by how much you want to fuck them. That, I think, is that's bad policy across the board.
For multiple reasons.
So we jump to Leoric. He's investigating this village. He sees the monster, but when he gets close, he realizes it's fake, and that's when he gets jumped by the Darkling Lords. He defeats 5 of them at once. So the fact that we've had like 17 plot lines about the numbers game and about like once the Darkling Lords outnumber the Spectral Knights, then they will be able to take control. It turns out all you need is Valoric, and you can defeat 5 of these Darkling Lords at once. He doesn't really break a sweat. They never have the upper hand on him. He's just whipping them around. Virulina tells him to give up because he's outnumbered, which is ridiculous because she was just tied up by his whip. But he does see he's outnumbered, so he takes his lion form so he can make a quick escape. And that's the point where Darkstorm steps out from the shadows, throws the potion on him, turning him from a blue spectral lion into a red spectral lion. And he runs back away towards the villagers, but they mistake him for just another monster at this point, and they just start throwing spears at him. This is where we're getting into this like weird. All these episodes have some sort of moral to them. They have some sort of lesson that a character learns. But in this case, the moral they're trying to sell is that like these people are sort of very provincial and they hate magic and they just assume all magic is evil and they're just judging these magic users and calling them evil. And just because they don't understand something, they fear it and try to kill it. And it's like, no, this is a roaring monster lion that is running towards them after all of their homes have been destroyed by a monster. And by the way magic works in this is that there are only morally dubious wizards who wield it. And one of those morally dubious wizards, maybe the most morally dubious wizard of them all, gave a very specific subset of the aristocracy magical powers, and that aristocracy then decides they are going to rule Prismos that way. So like you have really good reasons to be skeptical of magic and to hate magic and to fear magic, and this is not a prejudice that these villagers need to overcome. This is them taking all the information they have and acting rationally. Bad lesson, bad story this tells. Leoric, he's been hit with this potion, so he can't change out of his lion form to show them that it's just Leoric, so he runs away. The villagers start chasing him. They run into the Darkling Lords, and the Darkling Lords are like, oh yeah, there's that monster. We've been hunting that monster too. Darkstorm tells the woman, yeah, bad news about Leoric. He got eaten. Swallowed him whole. The lion just gobbled him right up. Your boyfriend's dead. And then he tells the rest of the village, you just pledge loyalty to me. I'll kill the monster. I'll protect you, and then you will be my subjects. So
it's kind of just a version of his other plans. That's kind of his MO at this point. Is I'm the one. The only time his desire to like sort of just sort of become the ruler of a group of villagers actually worked was when he just went full fascist and went, guess what? I have the power and I'm going to kill you if you defy me. Now I own you. Yeah. Anytime he tries to use social engineering, he's not good at it. Fletchin obviously can tell something is up because she goes back to New Valeric to tell the Spectral Knights that their leader, Leoric, is dead. And they're like, oh, well, then what we're going to do is we're going to slay that monster that killed him. They make a pledge to do that. So back in the village, the Darkling Lords are hunting for Leoric. The Spectral Knights are hunting for Leoric, not knowing it's Leoric they're hunting for. The Darkling Lords are sending the villagers out to do this dangerous job of finding him. They're safe in their vehicles. Fletchin goes into some ruins to find him, and she gets cornered against a wall. He jumps up and traps her, and it looks like he's going to eat her. And she makes the little crack. She goes, I hope you get indigestion, which is, bad joke. By the way, this episode written by Buzz Dixon, who had all of those amazing one-liners. Go ahead. I was gonna say Buzz Dixon wrote this one and Feral Steps Out. So there's something to say of him maybe being one of the weaker links in the 3-man writing crew here.
So the plot of Feral Steps Out sucks. The recurring thing that we had in Feral Steps Out where people kept making one-liners that were so bad they went back around to being funny, like something the Tick would shout out.
Yeah.
That I was kind of excited about. Like, oh, maybe Buzz Dixon has a feel for like this kind of campy dialogue. Lion Hunt has none of this. So this is just a dreary episode. Even with Heskadora the witch, don't get really a whole lot of fun dialogue. This is just kind of crap. When he traps her, instead of eating her, he writes his name onto the stone with his claw. So she looks up and she's like, oh my God, it's you, Leoric. So there's a shot of her and the lion sitting together in the ruins. And this is like also where I go, not only is the story bad, this episode kind of looks like crap. This particular shot, the perspective is all fucked up. Like she's sitting on the ground, but the way her character is modeled, it looks like she's sitting on a chair. And so the lion is just lying flat on the ground, and then she looks like she should be elevated on something, but she isn't, so it looks like the camera's hitting him from two different angles. It's bad. The animation's kind of choppy and crappy. She's trying to figure out what she should do. The villagers see the lion and is like, oh my God, Fletchin, get out of the way. We're going to attack the lion. She tries to explain the situation to him, but they're not listening, so Leoric flees again. The Darkling Lords start to chase him. He falls into a trap set by the Spectral Knights. When they pull him out, they're like, oh, this is Leoric's lion form. And Fletchin's like, what do you mean? And they tell her that they're all magic users. And she's like, that's terrible. Magic users are evil. And then they say, nuh-uh. And then she goes, oh, okay. And that's where that plot ends. Her whole fucking character arc of like learning to accept that not all magic users are evil involves her encountering some who ensure her that they're good, and then she goes, "Oh, I guess so."
Yeah, well, it's
useless.
interesting to compare her to the lady from the slave episode who actually has to go through the process of realizing slavery is wrong, and after spending her whole life thinking it was the only way to live. It's kind of the same character coming to different conclusions, or the same conclusion from completely one pseudo-realistic and one very unrealistic way of arriving at the same conclusion.
Yeah, and so this is a very lazy episode where very little happens because we've already reached the third act of this story. They ask the bearer of knowledge, who, as I've said in the past, this is Jim Kelly, a blaxploitation superstar with his big afro and muscles. He pops out of the staff, and he immediately goes all Jonathan Lipnicki on them and assures them that there are 500 species of lion on Prismos, which is, if you ask me, bad world building. That's too many. That's too many lions.
Yeah.
You know how many species of lion there are on the planet Earth?
3, 4?
There's one.
Well, don't we count?
There's subspecies. But there's one species of lion.
You're right. That's just a lion. I was thinking like a puma, a mountain lion was also a lion, but it's not a lion. It's a different animal. You're right. Yeah.
So if for this world to have 500 species of lion, they'd be like birds. They'd be every fucking place.
That would be
like,
terrifying.
This place would be rotten with lions.
And think of how much land a lion needs. This goes back. This is the giant planet. If there's 500 species of lions, like I don't know if there's 500 prides of lions on Earth.
This is like if you were to watch Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, but they were lions instead. I don't think it would be as eerie.
And not bird-sized lions, like lion-sized lions.
No, they meet at a lion shop. They have a meet cute at a lion shop. She's gonna bring him 2 love lions.
Yeah.
And then weirdly, these lions keep attacking the school children. How'd that happen? They're fucking lions. That's why. This is too many lions, 500 species of lions. But at any rate, they say, that's nice, bearer of knowledge. Tell us what we actually need to know. And they say, oh, that's right, the plot. Go talk to Heskador. She'll fix it. So Witterquick, he has his magical speed power. He uses that to get to her because they're racing against the clock. As soon as the 3 suns in the sky set, Leoric is trapped there forever. I guess 3 days have already passed. It doesn't feel like 3 days have passed, but I guess we're supposed to believe that they have. So he ends up in her lair, startles her. There's like a fun little animation goof where she was like using a spoon to taste some witch's brew she was making, and it just starts spinning in the air of its own accord because she's so startled. But when he looms over her and says, you need to change my friend back, there's this, again, the drawing is all fucked up where before she was this little old lady. When he and her are next to each other, she looks really big. I think maybe when you are doing a series like Visionaries, you sort of have to pick and choose. These are the expensive episodes and these are the cheap episodes. This feels like a cheap episode. This feels like not a lot happens. Most of it just takes place in open spaces. There's just not a lot to it. I don't know the production order of the series, but if they had to save money for this episode in order to pull off episode 7, that would make sense to me.
And another thing that might have happened is I know that there's a thing where you have certain animators and animation teams that are good at one thing or another thing, and they might have put the team that was good at animating animals on this one, because I remember the lion movements are okay, if I'm remembering right, even though the perspectives are off, but maybe these people just aren't the ones who usually do all the people animation.
Speaking of weird people animation, Witterquick tells her that he's here to help Leoric, and she's like, Leoric, who's that? Oh, that's right, my potion, it worked. And then she does this very funny, crappy looking like dance where she clicks her heels in the air, and it loops a couple times in a way that really emphasizes how fake it looks. But it is funny. I did enjoy that. Witterquick demands an antidote. She refuses. This is like rule number 1 if you're a hitman, which is if you come to kill the guy and the guy's like, I'll give you double the money if you let me go. Like, you take that money, you're not getting, that's the last money you ever get. No one's hiring you again. Yeah. Like, you have to fulfill the contract. So she is a witch. She's not going to just start undoing her own shit because then no one is going to come to her for help anymore. So she instead tries to start zapping her with finger lasers, but he's so quick, he dodges them all. The lasers are blowing up all of the stuff in her house. She's getting mad about that, and then he grabs her by the lapels and threatens her to give him the antidote, and she's like, all right, fine, I'll give you the antidote, but by the way, you got to use it before the sun sets, and points out the she lives in this like cave, so she sort of points out the cave entrance, and you see that these suns are about to set, and that he has already used his super speed power. So now he has the power of becoming a cheetah, which is a different super speed power.
Right.
Again, these should all be the same power. We don't need these levels of magic. At any rate,
I have a note here saying you might expect Spectral Knights to have a clever trick to make the witch give them their antidote, but they just send the fast guy to threaten to beat her up. That is my note.
yeah. He just holds this geriatric woman up and says, "I'm gonna beat the shit out of you." He just Jack Bowers her, and she's like, "Oh, you're gonna Jack Bauer me? Well, okay."
Yeah. And there's no Batman finding a hole in the logic kind of situation here.
Right. This is the 80s.
When
we
you
cut
were
back to
allowed
the villagers.
Threaten to beat up all the time in the 80s, just women.
Well, it's just our like popular. We are in America, and our pop culture consciousness of what a hero looks like is just like Rambo firing a machine gun forever. This is considered heroic.
Rambo shaking geriatric women is my favorite Rambo movie.
I mean, it is my favorite Rambo movie because that's kind of First Blood. First Blood is kind of these hapless cops being like, yeah, I guess we got to get this weird homeless guy. And Rambo's being like, no, I'm Rambo, fuck you. And then stabs him in the head.
But he only kills one person. There's only one death in that movie, famously.
Oh, that's right. And they get like thrown off a cliff or
It's a
something
guy
like that.
who
Like
falls out of a helicopter. So it's his own fault, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still Rambo's fault, but I guess it's sort of also his fault for not having better balance.
Unfucking believable how good First Blood is.
Yeah.
Just to say,
the book
First
is
Blood.
good. The book is good, too. I mean, it's based on a cool story. The thing that blows my mind about Rambo is that second Rambo is so weird that, to me, it's almost like they made a sequel to Taxi Driver called Bickle, and it was about him going back to Nam. It's like
It really is.
First Blood and Taxi Driver are more similar than Rambo and First Blood are.
You look, if you have not seen First Blood, if you only have the popular conception of what Rambo movies were in the 80s, like, you are probably correct, but you are correct about First Blood Part 2 and Rambo 3. You are not correct about that first movie where he sort of creates a character. When I say creates a character, I mean, like Rocky, Sylvester fucking Meathead Stallone wrote the script for First Blood.
Yeah.
And creates an indelible character that we will remember forever in John Rambo. Rambo is this kind of like Rocky type where he is this quiet soul who is a little bit haunted and has this baggage of his past, and the world does not understand him, and he kind of travels outside of the world. Obviously, Rocky is a lot friendlier guy. He's a lot sweeter. He's a lot dumber as well. But like, there is just sort of an inherent goodness to Rambo in that first movie because he has this capacity for violence, and he so doesn't want to use it, but they just keep pushing him. They push him too far. At any rate, this is why when you flash forward to 1987 and you are making a show for children, you can just have a little twink pick up a fucking tiny old lady and say, "I'm going to beat your face until it's hamburger."
I'm glad
and she
you
goes,
mentioned
"Okay, fine."
That he was a twink, because I was going to say the skinny blonde one, not the big bear guy, but the skinny blonde guy.
This is not characterized as like, oh yeah, that is kind of how Witterquick deals with problems. This is characterized as like, this is how a hero deals with problems. At any rate, so he gets the antidote. He carries the antidote in his mouth as a cheetah, starts rushing towards him. We now jump back to the villagers. They discover where Leoric is. They inform the Darkling Lords. I do want to note at this point, we've heard about a half dozen villagers speak, and unlike previous episodes, none of them are weird, janky impressions of celebrities.
No boomer
which is a little
impressions.
disappointing.
Yeah.
We're not getting an Edward G. Robinson villager being like, Shay, the lion's over there, Shay. It's a little sad. The oeuvre of the who is the impressionist of the age, who is always on Johnny Carson and stuff.
Maybe
Rich Little.
Maybe New Valeric had TV, and whatever this village is didn't.
I see. So in New Valeric, we get all of the Rich Little cadre of impressions, but not here in the town bordering New Valeric. I believe it.
They only have
at any rate,
stage plays.
We do have the villagers surrounding the Spectral Knights. There's going to be a big final showdown. There is a nice shot. As crappy as this episode usually looks, there's a nice shot where you see the long shadows from the setting sun The time of day is kind of setting the mood, which is cool, and building tension.
Magic
Lexor grabs Fletchin. Leoric attacks him to save her. He curls into a ball as an armadillo. Leoric knocks him into a crowd of villagers like a bowling ball in their pins. That is the big showdown, because before any more action can occur, Witterquick arrives with the antidote in his mouth. One more really great bit of animation here where he jumps into the air as the cheetah, lets go of the antidote, so it goes flying in the air. While he's in midair, he changes back into his human form and he catches it. So it's just like one smooth, sweet little motion of him tossing the potion up as a cheetah and then jumping into the air and catching it as a human. Very cool.
There's a camera move too, right? Like I'm trying to
Yes.
remember. Yeah. It's very anime because of the camera move too.
Yeah, there's a nice little pan that goes with it. It's a really good sense of momentum to it. The potion is poured on Leoric. Leoric changes back. He explains everything to the villagers. Cryotech uses his archer power to attack the Darkling Lords. He knocks over their vehicle. The villagers realize they've been duped, so they surround the Darkling Lords. They barely get it upright again. Their weapon system has been damaged, so they can't attack the villagers. They instead flee. Fletchin tells her father that they all learned a very valuable lesson about judging people for simply having too much power. And this particular shot is like where we have set up the flirtation, we have set up the emotional connection between Fletchin and Leoric, but this particular shot is where Fletchin is really flirting with Leoric. So it's like she is chastising her father, but she's also breasting very boobily. She's just like sort of looking up at him, and the camera is looking down her gown, and she's just like, we realize we shouldn't judge all men. And that's it. That's everything that happens in this episode.
No, but at the end of that shot, the last shot, they have an animation error where Fletchin is actually holding hands and talking to, it looks like it's Ektar. They colored him wrong.
Oh, really? I did not notice that.
I was very confused.
Shockingly, I didn't notice the coloring error.
Yeah. Well, and it's just funny because Ektar, is Ektar the one, he and Galadriel are like a pseudo couple, right? Am I remembering?
There is a love triangle between Ektar, Galadriel, and Cryotech.
That's right. And I just assumed that they just made a mistake. That's the end of it. But Fletchin becomes a character. She is basically Leoric's girlfriend for the rest of the series. She pops up. She has lines. Not a lot of plot development involved, but she has lines.
Yeah. And you know, again, this is a show that I think makes a lot of smart choices in terms of how important continuity is to it and how beholden it is to continuity and world building. And like, it does just enough to make you want to care about what happens to the characters, because if you pay attention, then that will pay off in future episodes, because it is also paying attention, but not so much that it limits itself from being like silly and goofy on a moment-to-moment basis. So one of the strengths of this show is that idea that a character can pop up and will continue to appear later on.
She has just enough character to her that we recognize who she is too. She's not just someone.
She should be not 17 is my feeling though.
Yeah.
She should be a Rene Russo hot 40-something-year-old.
Yeah.
It should be more the McTiernan version of the Thomas Crown Affair, where it's like two hot people in their late 40s having a romance.
There should be lines where she's referred to as a cougar because not just her age, but because something about Leoric being a lion. I haven't worked this out yet. This just came.
Okay. This is fun. This is all going to be in our script meetings for our reboot.
Right.
We're going to have her. She's either going to be a Rene Russo type, or she's going to be that one woman from Blackish with the really beautiful eyes who's all over social media. Who's her?
I've never watched Blackish.
Tracy Ellis Ross.
Okay.
It's the Fletchin in the new series will either be a Rene Russo or a Tracy Ellis Ross, a hot older woman. Maybe older than Leoric even.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
But that is episode 6. It sucks.
I just have one really quick note on episode 6, and there's the part where Fletchin comes and tells the Spectral Knights that Leoric is dead. We get a montage of basically every one of them going, dead? And I'm going to put that clip.
Oh, God.
I'm going to put that clip right here.
Dead? Dead?
Dad.
Dead? Dead? Dead.
Okay, there was the clip. Now we can
This is, again, there are a couple beats even in this next episode, which I think is good, that like really prove that they have too many fucking characters, because if you have to show everyone reacting to something in turn, it just like bogs the thing down.
Yeah.
So we're now on episode 7, The Overthrow of Merklynn.
Oh, Darkstorm, it pains me to see you in such foul humor.
You think it pains you? Imagine how it pains me, Mordred. I have to trudge all the way to that blasted shrine and kowtow to the wretched Merklynn.
Surely it is beneath the dignity of Darkstorm to humble himself for any man or wizard.
Yes, it is indeed.
Speaking of continuity, we are sort of carrying this Darkstorm and his anger about being beholden to Merklynn and not wanting to have to come to him for his magic all the time. So we have Darkstorm in his lair. He's grumbling about all of his recent defeats, and he realizes he has to recharge his staff, and that means he has to eat some crow and come back and grovel to Merklynn. But then Darkstorm remembers, hey, they have that wizard Falkama in their dungeon. Some continuity from episode 3, 4 episodes ago. Well, why he didn't go to him instead of the witch, I don't know. But Mordred, yeah, he just forgot. That's fine. Sometimes you just put a character in your pocket so you have a storyline for later.
Sometimes you throw people away in dungeons and you forget that they're there because they aren't important.
Yeah, I think even Shakespeare did that from time to time.
Yeah.
Mordred comments that, oh yeah, that wizard, he doesn't seem to have a lot of special powers because he's not able to escape our dungeon, but he does still have enough to amuse himself by producing elaborate stage shows. And that's where we see that Falkama is sitting in the dungeon and he's made himself a little diorama and he is watching a spider and a rat act out a stage play in a little box.
Yes.
It is almost a Simpsons joke. It is so silly.
Yes.
It's very funny. The stage show especially is funny because it appears to just be animals leaping in place in front of a background of mountains scrolling, which to me makes it almost not a stage play joke, but an animation joke, where it is just this like very familiar looping animation, and then it's very clear that the background behind them is sort of scrolling independently to produce the idea that the animals are moving. So
the
he is not just
thing. The old
he's not just creating the Globe Theater. He is creating a Yogi Bear chase.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate, a giant hook drops down from the dungeon and scoops him out, and he bellows, no, my presentation is not finished. He doesn't know how it ends yet. The rats apparently had a little surprise for him. When we build our playset that has this dungeon and all of the weird Darkling Lord gadgets and traps and stuff, we got to make sure to include this giant hook that carries people through floors.
Absolutely.
By the way, Falkama is voiced by Hal Rail, who voices Arzon. Arzon is one of the spectral knights who does not have a personality, so it's hard to say if he's going with or against type in doing Falkama.
They definitely have different voices.
They do have different voices. These are all trained voice actors who it is like an acting troupe who are putting on Visionaries, and pretty much whenever you're seeing a different character, it is almost always one of the core 14 fucking characters, which to be fair, that's way more voice actors than you normally get in a cartoon. Normally, you're talking about like a troupe of 8 people.
What I learned from Batman and Justice League commentary tracks is, I don't know if this was still the case in 87, but there is a guild rule where you're allowed to use any actor for at least 2 voices per episode without having to pay them significantly more. So you end up with on the Justice League show, you get Powers Boothin to do Gorilla Grodd, and you have him for the rest of the day. So you also get Powers Booth to do Red Tornado, but then you add so many effects because Red Tornado's a robot that nobody would ever know it was Powers Booth. That's the one that always blows my mind. That's just one example.
And in my mind, I'm thinking about The Simpsons, where they don't think about that rule at all, because every single episode has 17 Harry Shearer, Dan Castanella, and Hank Azaria voices.
They have to have their own contract. They make so much money, though, those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's probably, that's different. Maybe. And
they earn it too. They
and I'm not calling them layabouts. Well,
maybe.
Maybe they are. I wish I had their job. Yeah, they're layabouts. Fuck those guys.
I actually, from what I have heard, the recent seasons, like, you basically get very few Harry Shearer characters because Harry Shearer has gotten very lazy and uninterested in the show.
Yeah.
So like every Mr. Burns performance in the past 7 seasons is just the flattest Mr. Burns read ever. At any rate, Falcama tells Darkstorm, yes, there is a way to overthrow Merklynn, but to do it, they need a special book called the Omnipotentgram, which, again, sometimes the fantasy nouns, they just don't hit, and Omnipotentgram does not hit. They need this book. They also need Merklynn's orb, which can only be taken from him if he leaves his shrine in Iron Mountain, which is something we already know from an earlier episode. I think it was episode 3, where the Darkling Lords try to attack him in Iron Mountain, and basically no magic works against him in his domain. So we already know that, like, Merklynn is kind of invulnerable as long as he's in his little shrine. So, first things first, they go to the Athenaeum to collect the Omnipotentgram. I think the idea is that this is the book of spells, and then Merklynn's orb is the energy source that powers the magic, which is why you need both. The Athenaeum is a big Greek-looking building. We've seen ruins in the past that looked like factories or, abandoned warehouses and stuff, but now we're also getting some weird Greek influences in this. I think the ruins where Fletchin encounters the lion version of Leoric also have that kind of like Greek ruins feel to them. So we're expanding the definition of what Prismos looks like.
My brain is remembering there's a sort of Stonehenge-like thing in the previous episode too.
That's kind of what I'm referring to. I guess it's less a Greek ruin than it is a like Druid Stonehenge thing that she.
So we got a little
in,
bit of everything,
which is cool. I like that.
Yeah, that's good. Touch.
So they send Mordred in, and as soon as they decide to send Mordred in, you're like, all right, well, something fucked up is inside, because Mordred has to get wrecked once an episode. And sure enough, he opens the giant door and peeks his head inside and steps in, and then immediately comes running out on fire.
Right.
And Falcama goes, it seems that Smaug still lives, which I think is a combination of Smaug from The Hobbit and the Balrog from Lord of the Rings. And again, that's a crappy fantasy name.
Yeah. I mean, we already have Galadriel. It's very clear that they're trying to steal names from Tolkien at this point.
Absolutely. So Mordred runs and he dips his ass in a nearby fountain to put it out.
Classic cartoon gag of a butt on fire that has to be put in water. Yep.
This is what's the Looney Tune with the pistols?
Yosemite Sam's Biscuits Are Burning.
This is a classic Yosemite Sam Biscuits Are Burning situation.
Yep.
Recon insists that he's going to give it a try. He peeks inside and he sees a very cute old dragon.
Yeah, it's so sad.
It just looks like an old dog. There's even a shot where you see like a close-up of its back as Recon sneaks behind it, where its spines don't even look like spines. That looks like fur. Like maybe it's a furry... Maybe it's like a furry lizard sort of a thing. Mm-hmm. But it has these big, sad cartoon eyes, and it's very old. And Recon says, oh, yeah, this thing probably hasn't eaten in a millennia. So he tosses it a big roast beef that he happens to have in his bag, which it very daintily eats like an old dog trying to eat a little treat off the ground. And then Recon sneaks by it. He grabs this tiny little ancient book. And as he's leaving, the small Rog is like, oh, by the way, torches him. So Recon also comes running out of this building on fire like Mordred. In a very funny gag, he hands it off to Darkstorm, and he goes, your book? Because he's like, he couldn't care less about the magic at this point. He just needs to extinguish the fire on his ass. There's another very funny exchange where Darkstorm looks at the book and says, rather smaller than I would have expected. And Falcama says, it was a pocket printing.
It's a kind of old man joke that really hits.
Sometimes, you need just like an irreverent joke that breaks the reality of the show a little bit. Mm-hmm. Once he gets the book, Falcama looks through it. He finds the spell they'll need, and he says they'll need Wizard's Bane to do it. And Darkstorm's like, no, I'm not going on another goddamn fucking quest. And Falcama's like, oh, no, don't worry. I know where it is. But I think that is like a point where the show at this point is poking fun at itself.
Yeah, the whole fetch quest.
Like it understands there is a fetch quest D&D story structure. And the idea of the characters sort of realizing that they're just on this treadmill of magical items. That feels like the kind of joke you would get, like internet humor, like internet nerd humor, nerdist.com kind of humor about D&D.
I haven't
that we
seen
see here in 1987.
I haven't seen that show that Futurama people did that's a fantasy show, but that feels like a joke from that show that I've never seen.
Sure. Yeah, Disenchanted, I think that show is called. I watched the first episode, and it was bad. But maybe the other episodes are good.
Yeah, could be.
So now we move to this town hall meeting. Another great scene where Leoric and Ektar are meeting with some concerned citizens.
Like, they're dressed like mid-60s, early 60s transatlantic types. Like, they're trapped in, like, this early 60s vibe. And I swear they almost have the Katharine Hepburn thing going on.
These are characters when Alfred Hitchcock went to Universal and his thing was getting a little bit long in the tooth. This late 50s kind of snob, like upper class snob thing. We are specifically supposed to hate them because the woman is fat and she has an annoying voice. So we know that we hate her. Right. And then the other guy is this like ridiculous looking snobby man who with a big nose. And so we instantly know that this is a cartoon that thinks these people are stupid and ridiculous. But what they're saying is we don't want a barracks built next to our fucking town where we live. Barracks are noisy. Like, you're going to be sheltering a bunch of soldiers there. It's going to keep us up all night. And Ektar is screaming at them over this. Ektar gets so heated. And he's like, I think that's totally offline. You would not be noisy. And it's like, you are in a town meeting and you're screaming. So, yes, I think maybe they have a point. Witterquick interrupts. He trips and bursts through the door. He knocks it off his hinges, startling everybody and kind of proving the snobby people in the town hall meeting's point. But he warns them that the Dark Lords are approaching, and the citizens go, does that mean the zoning meeting is cut short? And it is funny that they do just call it out as zoning, which is, again, one of those adult concepts that you wouldn't expect a kid to know what zoning even is. So there might be a different kind of television producer who would say, we can't use the phrase zoning meeting in a cartoon because children don't know what a zoning meeting is. Right. But this is a show that is confident that children understand that there are phrases in the world they don't understand, and that doesn't mean that they can't follow a story. They can just sort of keep moving on with it.
In a weird way, it felt like a Ghostbusters joke to me, because Ghostbusters is this universe where there's ghosts and fantasy things going on, but so much of the stories, of at least the original movie and a lot of the cartoon, are based around the reality of working in a municipality like New York City. Yeah, they're very Ghostbusters
of it all. Yeah, or the urban mundanity of city bureaucracy. Is
it's
unexpectedly big. It's an unexpectedly big part of the #1 comedy fantasy movie of the 80s.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that you take for granted, but you think back and that's a very clever idea. And maybe why that movie works is because of clever ideas like that.
Dan Aykroyd's fucking crazy, but sometimes Dan Aykroyd just has brilliance. And I think that to me feels like a specific flavor of Dan Aykroyd brilliance.
Yeah.
So we see the Darkling Lords are advancing on horseback. They're going at full gallop and they're having a conversation. Oh, look at how stealthy we're being. So, like, the whole idea is that part of their plan is they're going to get caught and that they're just bad actors. So their idea of keeping this plan a secret is by stating the opposite loudly, which is an okay joke at first. But the problem is there are 7 of them. So when they get jumped and captured, each of the 7 have to do a bad joke of, oh no, you caught me. And it's just the same joke over and over and over and over again. And this is like, you have too many fucking characters. We can't do it like this.
I'm going to put a clip right here.
Oh, do not harm me, Leoric. I will come peacefully.
Oh no, I am captured.
You were right. I could not obey you forever.
Drat! I should never have listened to Darkstorm. You spectral knights are naturally superior.
I give up. I give up.
It is time that you finish your sentence in the sign factory.
You see what I'm saying? It's not fun. It's like a little amusing the first time, and by the end you're just hating it. So Leoric says it's time that you finish your sentence in the sign factory. Another callback to episode 3. So again, we have this sense of continuity. If you missed episode 3, which is very likely if you're a child and it's a syndicated TV show, you just sort of have to go with it anyway. We're back in the dungeon with those good pigs powering a conveyor belt to make signs, license plate in prison, license plate for a society that has no cars nor need for street signs. The Darkling Lords are grumbling about being in prison again, except they all knew that the plan was to get caught. So I don't know what they thought the next step was after getting caught. This is a very stupid story beat. It doesn't work. But that's fine.
It just sort of proves they're all stupid. The Spectral Knights are stupid for falling for it. The Darkling Lord's plan is stupid. And in a second, Merklynn's about to be stupid.
Yeah, because Merklynn shows up because he's the blue shell in Mario Kart. And if someone is winning too far, he has to show up and even the odds because it's to his advantage that they fight each other. He begrudgingly unlocks their chains, and he's like, Darkstorm, you really got to... You're really testing your luck, making me come save you again. And Darkstorm repays him by whipping out some Wizard's Bane, turning him into stone. Falcama teleports into the prison. He picks up Merklynn's orb, and he's like, yes! Now I can take the throne on Iron Mountain, and, the Darkling Lords are going to be my knights, but Darkstorm's like, yeah, I don't want to be anyone's knight. So he uses the Wizard Bane on Falcama. Falcama's now turned into stone as well. Darkstorm holds up the orb. He casts a spell from the book that turns the stone statues into balls of light that flies away, and he tells them all that they've been banished to, let's hear it, gang.
1, 2.
Wizard's jail.
We got to count this down.
We have to count. We have to count it down. You're right. All right, we'll do this one more time. He tells them all that they've been banished to, let's hear it, everybody. 1, 2, 3. Wizard's jail. This always works on a remote recording.
Yeah,
try to get, it's like trying to sing with someone in a remote recording. Always works every time. So this is where the name of the show comes from. Apparently, there is a place on Prismos called Wizard's Jail. Wizard's Jail is real. Wizard's Jail is real, and it's my friend because it's got real white-collar prison vibes.
Yes.
We see them banished away to Wizard's Jail. It's like a cozy rec room. There's like a country club kind of a feeling to it. There's a fireplace. There's some wizards hanging out. There's like 6 other guys there. They're all just playing chess. Obviously, all prisons suck because you can't leave. You're stuck there. But this is much nicer than every other dungeon we've seen at this point. So there is a hierarchy.
It's very One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest coded, I think.
Maybe. I was kind of thinking the Grand Illusion, where the officers get like a very nice jail.
Okay, that's a classier, even class. Yeah, you outclassed me. I hope you're happy.
I look, we both went for Academy Award nominated films, so I think we're doing all right.
But you picked a foreign one. Wait. Yeah. You picked a foreign
French.
one. I had to double.
Jean Renoir, not from Middle America.
No.
But okay, so the wizards have been banished to Wizard's Jail the way that me and Gabe banished ourselves to Wizard's Jail by making this podcast.
Yes.
A cushy prison, but a prison nonetheless. That's what a podcast is. Darkstorm, he holds up the orb, and there's like a nice little layout where you see all the Darkling Lords behind him, and this glowing orb is centered in the frame, and they kind of hold the pose as they cut to commercial. It's a very good oh shit moment. It's like, if you're pacing a TV show for a commercial, you want some kind of cliffhanger to happen right before the break, and that's a cool one. Mm-hmm. We then cut to Darkstorm. He's looking through the book for a spell to teleport him out the jail, but he's like, actually, I can really kind of only teleport myself. So later, he just leaves the rest there in the dungeon, and that's when the Spectral Knights show up, and they're like, oh my god, they freed themselves, and the Darkling Lords are like, god damn it, we're stuck here. But all of these Spectral Knights get frozen in place from Darkstorm's magic. He's able to do it from a distance, which we haven't really even seen Merklynn do. Merklynn always has to show up to pull off his magic. Darkstorm calls out to them, amplifying his voice magically. He says, you idiots, get out of there. And they're like, well, can't you transport us? And he's like, I'm not going to waste energy. Walk. So they have to walk back to Iron Mountain, where Darkstorm is in Merklynn's shrine, getting a neck massage from a fairy that he's conjured. He's living the high life.
Yeah, it's very depraved right off the bat. This is also how we know he's at the very least bisexual, because he's chosen a lady fairy.
That's right. He may have a on-again, off-again love affair with Mordred, but there is a pretty lady massaging his neck. Darkling Lords walk in. They're pissed. They're complaining that he's taking all the magic for himself. He's not sharing it. They're back at square one as far as they're concerned. So he goes, all right. Who has complaints? And Virulina, Recon, and Lexor all raise their hands. So he punishes them all. He makes Virulina old and ugly, and then summons a mirror for her to see herself. Now, Gabe, can you describe this mirror to me?
No, I don't remember what it looks like.
You didn't take notes about this?
No.
It is not just like a typical ornate fantasy mirror. It is this crazy-looking fucking monster mirror that has like fangs around the border of the glass and eyeballs. So it's like he's made a monster that's also a mirror. It's like if there was a mirror Pokemon that was a demon, it would be this.
Or
I love that
Ghostbusters. Maybe it was a leftover from Ghostbusters. Same animation studio.
It's someone got the script and was just like, mirrors are boring. Like, so they started to draw, like they started sketching what the mirror would be, and then they're like, wait a second, this is Visionaries. I could do whatever the hell I want. No one's watching.
Yeah.
And so they just made a weird ass like Golbat fucking mirror. And she looks at herself in the mirror, and she's ugly, and she's freaked out, and then he turns her to stone. And then Recon, he's like, I'm not waiting around to see what he's going to do to me. I'm just getting the fuck out of here. He starts running. Darkstorm tries to say a spell to stop him. Recon, very smart, whips a dagger right at his head. He's going to try and buy himself all the time he needs to get out of this shrine. But then Darkstorm, in midair, changes this dagger into an apple, catches it, takes a bite of it. Awesome moment.
Yeah. Vulgar
display of power. This is also, to me, like we've talked about different influences in terms of Lord of the Rings, in terms of like just wizards on vans and like fantasy novels and anime and sci-fi and stuff like that. This to me is the wizard battle from The Raven. The Roger Corman film, where Boris Karloff and Vincent Price are having a battle, and the way the wizard battle works is not them shooting sort of magic lasers at each other. It's like Boris Karloff conjures a serpent to be around Vincent Price's neck, and then Vincent Price casts a spell that turns the serpent into a very neat-looking ascot. And it's like, oh, yeah, thank you for the scarf. That is the way the wizard battle works in Roger Corman's The Raven, which is an incredible 1960s horror comedy film that everyone should see. So I think this is a little bit of The Raven here. It's also just a very cool moment. Darkstorm dishing out ironic punishments. Viralina is vain, so she becomes old and ugly. And he says, Recon, you only care about money, so I'm going to make it so there's the sound of a cash register every time you take a step, which is pretty embarrassing. But then he turns him to stone.
Like, compared to turning her old and almost killing her, but he made cash register sounds. And then that just makes you think, like, so they had cash registers, but they don't work anymore. But most people remember what a cash register. See, this is one of the things that makes me overthink the whole fiction.
Well, I believe he even has a line that's like, oh, what a sweet sound. I haven't heard that since the age of technology.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's recent memory. It's only like 3 years ago that they had tech. And then the best punishment, though, goes to Lexor, because he lies so much that what he gets is a clone of himself who translates all his lies into exactly what he actually means. It is basically the Kevin Nealon subliminal message guy bit from SNL.
Oh, I wrote down that it was Obama anger translator from Key and Peele, but yeah.
That was my next note. I also wrote down Obama anger translator, so we're on the same page here.
Good.
So this is how this scene plays out. I wrote down all the dialogue because I enjoyed it so much. Lexor basically says, Darkstorm, you don't gotta punish me. I wasn't actually going to be against you or whatever. And then when this clone of Lexor shows up to tell the truth, the clone goes, a rough translation of Lexor's last speech follows, Darkstorm, you progeny of a swine. I will say anything to get out of this current situation. I will betray you at first opportunity. And then Lexor screams, he bears false witness against me. And then the clone goes, translation, how does this oaf read my mind so easily? And then Lexor goes, please, Darkstorm, give me a chance to prove my loyalty. Translation, I will do anything to get out of this. Then Lexor gets turned to stone as well. But that's a very fun little gag there. Now, this is really the good stuff, though, because after he punishes the ones who were against him, he shows the rest of the Darkling Lords visions of the rewards they're going to get for their loyalty. So he shows Sindar. Sindar, by the way, is like the strong guy.
He's the big
Darkling Lord.
He's dope, and he likes animals.
Yeah, he's the big dumb strong guy. He turns into a gorilla. That's his like sort of animal. He has the big kaiju power. He tells Sindar that Sindar's going to get spectral knights to be his slaves. And then in this little vision that we see appearing in a bubble, Sindar asks one of the spectral knights for a book on astrophysics. And he's speaking normal instead of like a caveman. And then later he goes to Darkstorm. He goes, it has occurred to me, Darkstorm, that perhaps slavery is not a good idea. Men lacking incentive are not nearly as productive as... So it's like in this future, he becomes so smart that he wants to restructure the fundamentals of society. And then Darkstorm's like, maybe I'll make you a little less intelligent.
Yep.
You're gonna talk me out of fascism, and I really want to do a fascism.
Yeah.
So that's a fun joke. Mordred says he's going to be rewarded with sycophants who are as dedicated to him as he is to Darkstorm. And so in this vision, he gets all of these little followers following him, and they're just listing out all of his acclaimed titles. And he starts daydreaming about this. And when Darkstorm calls him out for it, he gets flustered and apologizes. And the way he apologizes is immediately in the exact same cadence, listing out all of Darkstorm's acclaimed titles. It's a funny joke. It is just like he is absolutely trapped in this personality. The only way he can envision reward or punishment is in the terms of being a sycophant to someone. The best one, though, goes to Kravex, our goat. Kravex gets a vision of living in a weird, like, heavenly cloud paradise. There's butterflies and unicorn statues and blue skies. Remember, Visionaries, Prismos is a world where all the skies are sort of red and black and fucked up. We don't get blue skies on this show. So this, like, heavenly vision of utopia where you see blue skies is kind of startling. And he's watching horse races, which always wins. But then he gets sad and wistful about there being no stakes. He doesn't start screaming the way Kravex would. He just sort of goes, oh, I've lost all the thrill of betting on horse races because I always win every bet. And then his horse loses. And he goes, oh, good, the thrill is back.
He wants to be angry. His life would be incomplete.
It is a perfectly tempered level of he has just enough to be angry about so that he could be content and happy.
Yeah.
This is a Futurama joke as well in one of their Scary Door bits where they would do Twilight Zone parodies, where someone's like, "Oh, I'm a world where I win all the time, but that's not fun at all." And I like the idea of like the be careful what you wish for moral tale where someone gets everything and they realize that like friction is the thing that gives life value and meaning. But then like a world where you get exactly enough friction so that you don't have to worry is still just kind of a world without friction. Like the immediate artifice of everything would be so apparent that I don't think it would really work.
That's one of the things I really like about the original Matrix is they sort of offhandedly mentioned that that the Matrix was a paradise, but people kept waking up because it made them miserable to be in a paradise all the time.
Right. It turns out that like neoliberal, like pluralistic capitalist society is the situation that is just good enough for people to stay asleep. Is sort of the conclusion that the Matrix comes to. At any rate, I do like that gag with him betting on horse races in this weird paradise where there are unicorn statues and butterflies.
And the voice acting is very funny because it's still Chris Latta's voice, but he's still doing his screamy voice because Latta does multiple characters on the show. He's still doing his screamy voice, but without screaming. It's very good.
Darkstorm, he feels like, boy, I'm really getting the hang of this magic thing. I guess all these other wizards, it took them years of study to become wizards because they're dumb and I'm really smart. I might be smart enough to try this sacred secret spell that no wizard has ever tried before and no wizard knows what it is. So Mordred's like, are you sure? And then immediately he does the spell and there's a thunderstorm and an earthquake begins. The earth opens. There are trumpets bellowing. The animation is great of the world tearing apart, of these like storm clouds shooting lightning everywhere, of the earth shaking, of Iron Mountain shaking and rocks jostling loose and everything. They go outside to see what is happening and you hear a deep voice from just beyond the horizon shout, "You have unleashed forces that none can contain." Gabe, I want you to describe what happens next. Okay, a demon arises in the horizon.
Yes.
Describe this demon, Gabe.
I didn't write the description.
Oh, you didn't take notes?
No.
This to me is like the whole Visionaries exists so that we can have this moment. So I took very detailed notes.
Okay, so yeah, my notes are the apocalypse looks awesome and it like reminded me of what you kind of wish the movie Wizards looked like, but it doesn't. I didn't think to take notes on the details of the demon. I remember that, but there are things that come out of the earth that are creatures we haven't seen before, which was very exciting. Yeah. Anytime they introduce a new monster, I get very excited.
Yeah, we got cute old dog dragon. Later, we're going to get like giant rat monster dinosaurs. But this demon that arises in the horizon, it just kind of pops up behind the horizon line in a way that kind of breaks the reality of the show in a really cool way. It is so detailed. It is so fucking anime. It is the absolute thing that if you show this to any TV producer for children's entertainment in America in 1987, they go, you can't put that on TV. Kids are going to have nightmares. You have to tone it down. You have to make it look a little more goofy. You have to give it like cross eyes or something like that. But no, it is just a crazy, super detailed, scary, gnarled horns, spikes. It has glowing eyes. It has these giant fangs. It is the fucking devil. It is way more detailed in its painting than anything else on the show. It's a different art style. It's kind of like when in Ren and Stimpy you cut to like a gross close-up of something and they don't have to animate it, so they just go like really wild on like the details of the hairs and gross like, you know, cat hairball or whatever. It's like that sort of a thing where it's just like it feels like it comes out of a different show. It feels like it comes out of a modern anime that is like a horror anime.
I do have one comparison actually, and I don't know how to say this. That I always just call it the Legend of the Overfiend. The really perverted. It reminds me of I'm going to try to say it, Urotsukidōji. Yeah, it reminds me of that. That
at this
very
point
over the top, sexually terrifying tentacle porn thing.
Great film. I saw that in a movie theater. I saw that with a crowd.
No. Oh.
Yeah, on a 35 millimeter film print.
I saw it how you're
amazing.
supposed to see it on a shitty VHS alone with no one watching
Shame.
you. Yes.
Paranoid that someone's going to walk in.
Yes.
That's the way it's meant to be seen. I saw it in a movie theater. That's a hell of a thing. Never going to forget Legend of the Overfiend. Anyway, this is definitely like, something really wrong has happened that this is in this kid's show. And this is the point where I have to say, the first time I watched this episode, I was very tired. I came home from work. I got home at like 11:45 p.m. I had taken an edible on my way home. And because I was trying to get to sleep. So I usually use THC to help me sleep. And I was like, I was working when we were prepping for this podcast, my goal was I'm just going to watch through the series once. And then the second time I watch through it, that's when I'll start taking notes. So this is just me sitting down, take it in, don't take any notes, just sort of take it as it comes. I'm getting pretty fucking high. I start this show. This is the part where the demon arises in the horizon, and I say to myself, there is a non-0% chance I am hallucinating this right now. I was so freaked out. I could not believe my eyes. I literally had to, with my partner the next day, go, I'm sorry, I know we were about to watch The Sopranos or something, but can I put this on real quick and make sure that what I saw was actually what I saw? This demon comes up. It is barely animated because it is so detailed. It is just its jaw moving up and down, and there's like a blinding white light behind the jaw. So it's like even inside of the demon is just this sort of like unknowable white light. Absolutely unhinged. And it goes, "You have begun the end of the world." And then it retreats back down to the horizon. And then you go, oh no, it's a kid's show. They've begun the end of the world. And he looks back at the book and he realizes that the book has changed and he has actually unleashed a series of plagues. There's the plague of the ground opening, which you've already seen. There's the plague of fire. There's the rise of vermin. There's the inundation, which is a tidal wave. And then there is the time of darkness. Really banger ass high fantasy fucking plague names. The inundation being for like a great flood that destroys the world. Awesome. Makes up for that weird crappy dragon name that they came up with, or Fletchen. Darkstorm realizes, granted, I think I bit off more than I could chew. We should get to Merklynn and get him to undo this. We got to go back to Wizard Jail. But then that's when the Darkling Lords that he turned to stone show up. They've been released from their stone statue states, and they're just about to battle, and then meteorites start smashing into the ground. Everything's exploding. This is, of course, the plague of fire, because there's fire everywhere as these meteorites are striking Prismos. They're all trying to run for their lives. It looks awesome. All these explosions, all these meteors. We cut to New Valeric, where meteors are wrecking New Valeric. It's destroying the castle where all of the spectral knights are still frozen in the dungeon. Lexor eventually comes to his senses and goes, wait, I have a shield spell. So he casts the shield spell. They all get into the shield bubble to protect them. That is when the next plague, the rise of vermin, comes, and a giant dinosaur pops out of the ground, and you realize that vermin doesn't necessarily mean like a small rodent. It can mean something the size of a T-Rex. Yeah. So more show up. They surround the Darkling Lords. They're somewhere in between a T-Rex and a rat, and they're about to kill them. That's when Sindar summons his kaiju goblin to fight them. So that is that plague dealt with. They see the Wizard Jail in the distance, and they are sprinting. They are running for it, and that's when a tidal wave appears over the horizon. This, by the way, this is the tidal wave that Galadriel, when she was hit by Kravex's fear ray. She had that paranoid vision of a tidal wave killing everybody. This is that tidal wave. So we're getting these like sort of echoes of these things that like maybe Galadriel was actually in fact seeing into the future. Maybe there's something about Kravex's fear spell that has like a prophecy to it. Awesome. These shots of them running, there's all these like parallaxing as you see different like rocks and cliffs scrolling behind them as they're leaping over chasms that are filled with lava. This is like anime-ass, the peak of Visionaries animation. It's cool as hell. The wave crashes down on Darkstorm. He cries for help because he can't swim. Earlier episode, I mentioned this happening because he lands in a moat and he's fine. They didn't decide yet that he couldn't swim in that earlier episode. Now they decided he can't swim and he's begging someone to save him. Viralina's treading water next to him and she goes, "What do you want?" He goes, "I'll give you anything. I'm going to drown." And she goes, it kind of might be more fun to watch you drown. We're getting, again, a little bit more continuity with Viralina having a chip on her shoulder about being the woman in the group that everyone discounts.
Yeah.
So she is a little bit more willing to let Darkstorm drown than anyone else. But then I think it's Lexor reminds her, hey, we might need him. He still is the one with the magic. So she goes, fine. She takes her shark form. There's an amazing drawing where she leaps out of the water. And you just see from Darkstorm's perspective, this giant great white shark with like 5 rows of razor sharp teeth bearing down on him. It's awesome. It's so good. This is when we cut inside and there are just 3 wizards playing cards with Merklynn.
It's just the most mundane shit. It's great.
And because they're wizards, they're all cheating.
Yes.
They're all just like summoning cards out of the air. It's like, what game is this even?
And we know that they hate each other too. We know that basically all the wizards hate each other, but they're forced to play, like they can't even last a day without playing a game. I think it's a really funny little touch.
Now, Visionaries, this is a failure of a show that no one saw. It was syndicated, which means there was no like regular schedule for it. I don't think anyone involved with this show went on the writing capacity, went on to Batman the Animated Series. This did make me think of the episode Almost Got Him.
Yes.
A classic episode of Batman the Animated Series where all the villains of Batman are sort of in this illegal casino playing cards with each other, swapping stories about almost getting Batman. This is that dynamic a little bit where it's like these people understand that each other, like we're all wizards, so like we're the only people who understand what it's like to be a wizard, but also we're all wizards, so we all kind of hate each other. That's kind of the vibe here.
Yep.
These 3 wizards that are playing with Merklynn are Falkama, who we met earlier. There's also Bogavas, who's a round man with a big beard, voiced by Jim Cummings, and Wizaquizar, who's an evil-looking and angular kind of a man with devil horns. Bogavaz and Wizaquizar, again, some of these fantasy names, they don't hit.
Wizaquizar
we're gonna learn
is
more.
hilarious to me. Wizardquizzer.
I guess that is.
We're going to hear it a million times in a later episode.
Yeah, the later episode is going to deal with these folks. Right now, I'm just sort of laying the groundwork. These are characters who will come back because this is a show with continuity. They sort of hear a rumble. They look over at the door. A wave bursts through. Viralina, as a shark, bursts through. She coughs up Darkstorm.
Just barks him
That's
on
how
the
he
floor.
saved her. He rushes to give Merklynn the orb, and he's like, please, please help me. The darkness is coming. The last plague, the darkness is coming. And Merklynn informs him that the sacred secret spell is in fact a failsafe against common people usurping the power of wizards. This is the little manual in your computer game in the 90s that asks you, before you can start the game, you have to turn to page 16 and tell it the 4th word. This is that copy protection.
Yeah.
Merklynn says, any mortal using our magic to cause destruction in the world will soon find himself racing to return the orb to its rightful owner, which is exactly what you have done. Merklynn says that this is the last straw, that he will not save them from prison again, that he will not help him ever again, and that he should not even try to consider enlisting other wizards from this wizard jail to help him. Then Merklynn looks up and realizes the door's still open and all the other wizards have escaped. Very funny gag.
It's such a good joke. It's the best joke, and the way he reacts. Oh, jeez.
He has Merklynn very capable of getting like over the top angry and panicking and freaking out at these people or whatever.
Yeah.
But he definitely has an understated comedy reaction to this. He goes, "Oh, drat, they're gone."
And that we don't see it. That's the best part. They just zipped out when it's genuinely quite funny.
Darkstorm asks about the destruction. Merklynn informs him, don't worry, everything's going to right itself. And at this point, this is the second part where I said, okay, this is definitely just me being high and not actually what this 80s cartoon is doing. Because at this point, we see all of the footage from the episode rewound. It's all sped up and going backwards. It's all the destruction sort of like coming back together. It's all the castle walls, reforming themselves. It's all the chasms closing in the earth. We even get back to the zoning meeting and you hear the voices of all the characters in like sped up chipmunk backwards voices.
Yeah.
Like it's someone rewinding a tape. The same way that like demon popping up over the horizon kind of feels like them just sort of poking a drawing up in the background in a way that kind of breaks the reality and geography of Prismos. This kind of is fucking with the reality of this show as being like, it's a cartoon. Like there's like a metaphysical layer to this rewind that is really interesting and cool, and very unexpected.
It's like funny.
So
games.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. The place my mind always goes to is the section of Slaughterhouse 5 where Kurt Vonnegut describes like all of the bombs unexploding and like all of the dangerous materials in the bombs going back into the earth.
You had to outclass me again, didn't you?
I'm sorry. I'm a fucking snob. I'm one of these snobs in the zoning meeting, which is where the episode ends. I'm the guy with the big nose who goes, what about a botanical garden?
I named a foreign film even this time. Funny games. And you went with classic literature over.
And I didn't even give you credit for that. I'm like, he's probably talking about the Naomi Watts one.
No.
At any rate, we are now back into the town hall meeting. Leoric and Ektar, Leoric sort of stops the fighting once again, and Leoric's like, can you excuse us for a moment? And he takes Ektar into another room. Once they're alone, they laugh because it is just like absolutely ridiculous that magical knights like themselves have to do fucking bureaucratic zoning meetings. Ektar complains about how quiet things have been lately, and he goes, whatever came of the days of high adventure and magic? And Leoric goes, oh, they'll return. I'm sure of it. And then we get our final image, which is Wizquizar, who has escaped from wizard jail. He's piloting a horsebound cart, and he looks right into the camera. Fucking awesome ending. I like the implication that like a lot of time has passed maybe in between Lion Hunt and this episode, that like things have slowed down a bit. This idea of time passing and continuity and characters noting the arc of the battles between, which can just sort of be like a permanent state of just like, yes, these guys are always against these guys and they will always, like Cobra will always fight the G.I. Joe, and that is our status quo, is these two people fighting in a forever war or whatever. This kind of implies that there is not just sort of a status quo that every episode returns to, that there is sort of like gaps in time where different things are happening other than these two groups fighting each other. And ending the episode not with everyone saying, may the light shine forever, but instead an implication that like, stay tuned. Next episode, we got some wild shit happening. The world's about to change because there's more wizards about, and they're not all nice. Cool. I like this ending. I like this episode a lot. This is, I was in a movie theater. I was maybe a little tired, and I was texting with Gabe, and Gabe said I should do a podcast about Visionaries, and I said, yeah, let's do it. And it was just sort of a bit that ended up becoming reality. And then as I was working my way through the series, I was thinking to myself, this is better than I thought, but also I never in a million years would ever want to watch this if I wasn't going to do a podcast about it. This is the episode where I went, oh, okay, this is going to be fun. This is not going to be a slog. I'm going to be excited talking about this show because this show is genuinely weird and bizarre. Really like the Overthrow of Merklynn, episode 7.
It's kind of like that was the moment when I rewatched it back in the 2000s as a young adult that I said, oh, wait, maybe this is different from all these other things I've been watching. Like Sky Commanders, that's the one we keep shitting on. Sky Commanders, this is better than Sky Commanders. Wow. This
is way better than Sky Commanders. I don't have to watch Sky Commanders to tell you that this is way better than Sky Commanders. Don't make me do a Sky Commanders podcast, Gabe, please.
Okay. I mean...
Promise me. Even for the bit.
Not even for the bit.
Not even as a bonus episode of a genre grinder thing, you like surprise me with Sky Commander. Like, just don't make me do it.
How would I surprise you? How would I like beam it into your house?
Yeah. You know the device. I look.
Take over your.
Far
TV
be it
device?
from me to reference an art film, but my imagination went to A Clockwork Orange, and that is how you ultimately have to get me to watch Sky Commanders. Is little hooks in my eyelids.
No, we won't do that.
All right, so this has been episode 4 of Wizard Jail, the episode where you finally find out why the hell we did a podcast called Wizard Jail. We are here in our cushy little white-collar podcast prison. This show is maybe not going to hit the heights of episode 7 again, but there's still a lot of different weird things that it is going to do. It is not done reinventing itself.
And there is a direct follow-up to this episode eventually. I think we got a couple in between.
So, Gabe, do you have anything to promote?
Just keep going to genregrinder.com and listen to the Genre Grinder website and hang out with me on Blue Sky as Gabe Powers, and then in parentheses Genre Grinder, and follow me on Letterboxd as Gabe Powers.
And for me, I'm one of the hosts of 96 Greers, a podcast about character actor Judy Greer. By the time this episode is out, you can listen to us rave about 13 Going on 30, a truly surprisingly good, but also compromised in the way that most romantic comedies of the early aughts are, compromised film. Really good conversation we had there. Probably also by this point, you're hearing this, you can hear us talk about The Long Walk, the new Stephen King adaptation, where if it is faithful to the book, Judy Greer appears in the first scene and nothing else. But interesting movie, The Long Walk, movie they've tried to make a book they tried to make into a movie for a long time and never could. And then Cooper Hoffman came along and they saw Licorice Pizza and they're like, I think we have our guy. So we'll see what happens.
It's my turn to do the outro poem.
Thank God, because I didn't write one.
Oh, yeah, I got it. So ready. Rolling drums and synths of old, never give thou up, thou art Rick-rolled.
God damn you.
Deep in the South Pacific, a tumultuous and untamed new continent has erupted, spawned by a highly unstable new element known as Theta 7. If this powerful new element could be controlled, whoever possessed it would be the undisputed ruler of the world. One man, General Lucas Plague, is determined to hold that title. And it's up to a rugged team of mountaineering experts, led by Commander Mike Summit, to stop him. Employing revolutionary new gravity lock and laser cable technology to traverse the ever-changing terrain of the high frontier, Mike Summit's Sky Commanders and General Plague's Raiders are locked in mortal combat, with the fate of the entire world hanging in the balance.